In today's video, we are going to continue our deep dive into potential reasons as to why your wife might not want to sleep with you. It has become very apparent in the last couple months, to me at least, that this is a very bad problem that is happening in a good portion of marriages. And this is such a big problem because it leads to just so much resentment and destruction of the men's sense of self-worth in the marriage. Now, in the two previous videos, we've explored potential physical problems, either with you or with her. That can be the issue. In today's video, we're going to be exploring more about emotional problems. And when I say emotional problems, I'm referencing there is something that you are doing in your behavior or in your actions that are turning her off, that are hindering her ability to feel the level of attraction to you required to translate into the bedroom. The number one reason why women lose their physical attraction to their husband is that the male and female dynamic get reversed. In other words, you're forcing her into a male masculine leadership role. Out of all potential problems that I've already discussed before, whether it's the physical aspects with her, whether it's the physical aspects with you, this is probably going to be the number one problem. You're going to find the male-female dynamic reversed in almost every single dead bedroom situation. So why does this happen? Number one, you drop the ball as a leader in your house. There is always going to be a leader in the house. So what happens when you're not the leader of the home is that we have to do it. We have to pick up the ball. If you're not a man of your word, you don't do what you're going to say. You don't tell us no. You do not actively, proactively engage in directing the course of where our family's going. It leads to a situation where she has to become the leader, and she's going to resent you for it, and she's going to think you're a weak man, which you are. And no woman wants to be with a weak man. So what's the proper dynamic here? What's the proper dynamic? When I say proper, I'm meaning the most effective. I'm all about the most effective. I don't care if it's politically right or what's going to work. The first is that the husband is the core. Think of him as the sun. The husband is the sun. He in there has certain jobs, certain titles, certain responsibilities. The husband has to be the leader of the home. There's no other way for this to work because otherwise it's going to turn your woman off and she will resent you and she will shut her legs and you're not going to be getting any action. But she does not want to be the leader. I don't care what she says. I don't care how strong of a female she is. I'm a strong, independent woman and I don't want that. No woman wants that. He needs to have goals for himself and for his family. And he needs to have his own hobbies and his own thing going on. So you're not only going to be leading yourself, you're going to be leading your family. What direction are you going? Or is there no captain in the ship? If the wife is going to orbit around the husband. And when you have this dynamic, she starts coming into his world. So let me give you an example of this. My husband started taking an interest in cornhole. I have no interest in cornhole, never played it before, wasn't interested, but he needed somebody to practice with. Guess who now's a cornhole player? I am, right? When I first met my husband, I wasn't really big into Asian food, and he liked it a lot. So we started going to Asian food places, and now I love Asian food. This is normal. This is how women work. With a strong, confident leader man, she is going to go into your world. You're going to lead the ship, and she's going along for the ride. Women do not want men who are malleable. We need solid rock of men who are stable, and we know that we're going to be fine. We don't want a man who's like, soft, like, Gumby. we need a solid rock, a lighthouse. You might have been the type of man in the past who really knew yourself, who really knew the direction you were going to go, and all of a sudden, you get blinded by the wrong head. And all of a sudden, the man that you were, the strong, confident man who knew where you were going, who had your own thing going on, who had your own hobbies going on, where did he go? He became this timid, meek man who couldn't tell her no because he might not get laid for a couple days. And for any of you potentially single guys who might be watching this, the key is that you want to find a woman who loves you more than you love her. And the reason why I say that this is important is because men are inherently more loyal than women. Think about a guy with his favorite baseball team. My husband, he's just recently been really enjoying the Padres playoffs, and he has been a fan for years, and they've sucked over the years, right? But no matter how crappy they are, he doesn't just decide one day, oh, well, I'm going to be a Dodgers fan. I'm going to be a Yankees fan, or whatever the case may be, of whoever is winning at the time. He is loyal to his favorite team, and the highs and the many, many, many lows. A male who knows his worth, a male who knows the direction in his life, a male who is on a mission, who has hobbies, who has his own things going, is extremely attractive to a female. So what happens in these cases where you're not telling her no to things you should be telling her no to because you don't want to endure the short-term backlash that's going to come from it? What happens in those cases where you allow disrespect to go unchecked? What happens in those cases where you just become too complacent and you think, you know what, I've already got her, those qualities and those actions that I did at the beginning and that caused her to be attracted to me are gone? What happens that? Well, in those cases, she has all the power and she knows it and she hates you for it. But the biggest myth that you guys have is that you think it's your job to make us happy as women. You think it's your job to make women happy. That's not it. Your job as a husband is to give her what she needs, not what she wants. And you mistakenly believe that by giving her what she wants, it will make her happy. And that is far from the truth. Because it's just the same thing as like knowing that your job is to give your children what they need, not what they want. What happens if you give your kids, they want cake and candy and popsicles every day, right? What happens if you want them to be happy, so you give them what they want? Well, you have temporarily happy kids, but their body and everything else is stunted in growth. It's not what they need. And you have to take that same mindset with your wife, because essentially we're just little kids and bigger female bodies, essentially. And this doesn't mean that you don't take her input into consideration. Like, good men do that naturally. But ultimately, the bottom line of where things are going in the direction of the family and the direction of your mission and her coming into your world and having your own thing going, this is the true source of contentment. You guys have no idea all the swirling insecurity, anxiety that goes on in a female brain. The kindest, most loving thing you can do for your wife is to be the leader of the home, have a strong direction of where you're going, taking in her input, but making that decision of where your family's going and executing properly. It is not okay for you to abandon this leadership role in the short term, because there's icebergs, there's storms, and it gets tough, and I understand it. But you as men are the most adept and equipped to handle those things. We're not. Please do not abandon your wife and your family in this role, because if you do, she's going to abandon you in the bedroom. The next thing is that you are not proactive enough, meaning that the behavior and the actions of the things that you were doing at the beginning of the relationship that were working, you stopped doing. So, we've already touched on this a little bit on the physical side. Reverse engineer what was happening, what actions, what behaviors were you doing that you are no longer doing, because things get more difficult. We get into life, we have children, life gets busy, but it doesn't excuse you from maintaining those things and those behaviors and those actions that were successful. The next problem that I see a lot of men make is that they only reserve their physical touch and their physical affection for sexual activity. Women need to know that when you touch her, that it's not just always going to be leading to sex. And I'm sure that we've all heard that foreplay happens hours before the actual act for women. You guys are always on. You're always ready to go. We're not like that. See, a lot of times you guys forget there's a whole lot of real estate here. You're going straight for here, not just this whole part. We're right for this little specific targeted top of the mountain. And that's cool, but there's a lot of places that can be touched, and it doesn't always have to be for that purpose. I'm trying to not get myself banned. So the amount of times you're touching your wife in a non-sexual manner is very important. Or if you're only touching us when you want that to lead to sex, that's a turn off. Have you ever tried just touching your wife's shoulder? Kissing the back of her neck? Stroking your hands on the back of her hair. Oh, guys, don't underestimate the hair. The back of the hair, the scalp, good stuff. Give your wife a kiss, give her a hug. Hugs, dude. Guys, you have no idea. Hugs are amazing. Give her like a real, not just a quick little hug, a quick little peck, like embrace her, hold her. Oh, that is just so awesome. And don't just reserve your touch for your favorite parts. There's a lot more real estate there that you need to be exploring. Today's episode is sponsored by Cup Cozy Pillow. Cup Cozy Pillow is the easiest, most convenient way to keep your drinks close to you and safe from spills. Look at all the stuff it holds. Guys, if you need a place to keep all those drinks, the snacks, the remotes, all the gaming controllers, your electronics, whatever you need, right there at your fingertips, Cup Cozy Pillow is where it's at. Check it out. Perfect holiday gift, Cup Cozy Pillow. Back to the episode. Another thing that you're doing that is causing her to shut down in the bedroom, most likely, is that she is not feeling seen or heard. It is very important for women to be seen and heard, or else they will not feel loved. And let me give you a couple examples that I think men really mess up on. The number one thing is put down your phone. Just put down your phone. She's talking to you and you're like doing your own thing. You're like going, She's not feeling seen, and I know she's not feeling heard. How about you put down your phone, look into her eyes? You know, it's very difficult not to connect with somebody into their soul when you look into their eyes. You will fall in love with them. Another thing is when you are having a disagreement or an argument, it is very easy for you to just say, well, I'm done talking about this. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Well, that's not fair. That is something that is going to not allow her to feel heard. A lot of times in arguments, men handle it by wanting to disengage for a while and, just kind of like forget about it or bury their head like an ostrich in the sand. And that doesn't work for women. The only way for a woman to get past something is to digest it. And in order to digest it, we have to talk about it. We have to discuss. We're not doing it to punish you or to make you feel bad. We're doing it to try to fix the wrestling and all these associations in our brains to untangle what happened and how to resolve it. We do that with talking. And I understand the need at some point where the discussion needs to end. She can't keep discussing it. And that's not helpful either. And sometimes you do have to take a minute and cool down. It might not be the right time or the right place to discuss something. And you could say, hey, I don't want to talk about this right now, but do you mind if we table this till tomorrow? Or do you mind tabling this till later because I need time to cool off? That's a whole different discussion than to just say, I'm just not talking about this anymore. That's not fair. That's not loving. She can't feel seen. She can't feel heard. And that is something that will cause her to resent you. So don't do that to your wife. Another behavior or action that you could be doing that is causing her to not want to sleep with you is that you have proven yourself to not be trustworthy. The things that you say you're going to do, you don't do. And I did this whole breakdown about leadership qualities in men, and I've discussed this thoroughly. So I don't want to go into like a super deep dive about this again, but for a woman, your word has to be solid and it has to be proven and reliable over and over in the big and in the small things. So do not tell your wife you're going to do something, whether it's mowing the grass, whether it's taking her on a vacation, whatever the case may be. If you say you're going to do something, your word has to be golden and it has to be true. And yes, once in a while, things happen and you have to be accountable for those times. Another behavior that causes your wife to potentially not want to sleep with you is that over time, you're just too much stuck in the blame game. And I get a lot of comments from you guys saying, well, my wife was just a gold digger and she just wants me for my money. And she came in there knowing that she wasn't going to have sex with me. No, guys, no. Sorry. A lot of times what happens when you guys are suffering in these situations where there's a lack of intimacy is you try to process it and you try to come up with every other reason why she is the problem, and there's no self-accountability. And I'm not saying she's not a factor, but it really doesn't serve you to not take responsibility. It's very much more empowering to say, you know what, even if she's the one who's not interested, I have a role in this. And the reason why I think it's so important for you guys to take this 100% responsibility and accountability and stop this whole blame game is because the way you view your wife is extremely important. If you start selling yourself the story that she never cared about you, that she was just in it for the money, that this was some big evil plan, it's not going to translate well into how you treat her. The very nature in which you interact with your wife is going to be skewed not for the benefit of the marriage. You're going to see your wife exactly as you want to see her. You can choose to see her as a gold digger, as a narcissist. You can choose to see her as somebody who doesn't love you or only cares about her own thing. But when you do that, you are going to respond to her in a certain manner that is not loving and not kind. And she knows it. She's going to sense it. Women are great at reading a room. They can go into a social setting, a party. They'll see little Johnny in the corner. He's looking sad. They'll see the man over there talking to a woman. They'll see another woman over in the corner acting all flirty. She's looked at everything. She's very, very aware of what's going on. So don't think that she doesn't know how you feel about her, because she does. So maybe she is the primary problem in this situation, but you have the choice of how you look at it. You have the choice of how to respond. You have the choice at looking at her other great qualities, and all of those are going to roll into how she is going to respond to you. That is something that's super powerful. So what have we learned today? We've learned that it's most likely that the reason why your wife doesn't want to sleep with you is because the male and female dynamic is reversed. We've also learned how important it is to maintain strong leadership. We've also learned that physical touch can't only be reserved for the times when you want to have sex, and that those areas in which you're touching needed to be really expanded and explored. We also learned that you must be proactive, trustworthy, and abandon the blame game when it comes to this situation and just take 100% accountability. And you do that by choosing to look at the good qualities that your wife has, because she can sense how you feel about her. So that wraps it up for today. I hope it was helpful for you. We have one more episode to cover next week, and then we will have concluded this series. Now go out and make your marriage the best it can be. I'll see you next time.